What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you the top 5 most useless soccer cleat / football boot technologies currently in existence. There is no arguing that soccer cleats have completely changed over the last 20 years or so. Modern technology has changed the way that these big brands develop their products. We're seeing new materials, new ways of making the shoes fit, new performance characteristics that we've never seen before. So modern technology is a huge influence on every new release that we're seeing these days. With as many new ideas as we are seeing, there are plenty of amazing ideas that actually do make for unique performance characteristics, really good soccer cleats as a whole, but there's also plenty of these new ideas and new technologies that aren't quite as good as these big brands would lead you to believe, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Also, if you guys enjoy the top 5 series on my channel and want to continue seeing more, be sure to support the video with a like and let me know down below in the comments which top 5 video you'd like to see next. Also, keep in mind that these top 5 picks are in no particular order. Number 1 is a big one, wet weather control elements, more specifically Nike's ACC all conditions control technology. Now, they're not the only one with a wet control element. You do have nonstop grip from Adidas, you have grip text from Puma, which has been marketed in different ways over the years. Every brand is kind of slowly introducing something along the lines of ACC because it has been so successful for Nike. With that said, ACC, in my opinion, really wet weather control elements in general, are more of a perception thing rather than something that's offering a tangible performance benefit that you should be paying extra for. I'm not saying that ACC is non-existent at all. I'm sure that Nike is doing something to the uppers of their shoes besides just printing ACC on the upper to make it legitimately different than a shoe that does not have their ACC technology. For those that don't know what all conditions control is in the first place, it's kind of in the name. All conditions control. Obviously, this is a sport that you're gonna play in dry weather as well as in wet weather. And in wet weather, I'm sure everyone's played in the rain at least once, it is much more slippery on the ball. So the idea behind ACC is to offer better grip on the ball in those wet weather playing conditions, hence wet weather control element. So is it actually offering better grip on the ball in wet weather? I would personally argue no. You'll find ACC technology on all the top end models from Nike, and I'm in a position where I've actually worn every single shoe with Nike ACC technology that they have ever released, and I can honestly tell you this. Every single one of those shoes not only offers a different touch in dry conditions, it also offers a different touch on the ball in wet weather conditions, both in terms of feel as well as the actual amount of grip that you're getting on the surface of the upper. Why is that? Because the material of the upper is really the deciding factor here. A Mercurial Vapor 11 is not going to have the same grip level in wet weather or in dry conditions as a Nike Magista Obra 2, which is not going to have the same grip levels as a Nike Tiempo Legend 7. These all feel different in dry and wet conditions because the materials, the surfaces of the upper, are actually different. That's what's going to decide how the shoe is going to feel in both dry and wet conditions, not whether or not they have ACC. If ACC was truly that effective, wouldn't all of these shoes feel exactly the same in terms of grip levels on the ball, at least in wet weather? I would argue yes, but that is obviously not the case. Nike has done an excellent job with marketing ACC, but keep this in mind as well. This is an invisible element. It's been explained to us how ACC is supposed to work, but it's never been explained to us what it's actually doing in order to achieve that grip effectiveness, the extra grip that it's supposed to have on offer. So again, it's one of those things where I think the perception is that it's doing a lot more than what it's actually doing. Because in my opinion, if you had a blindfold on, a left shoe with no ACC, right shoe with ACC, you would absolutely not be able to tell the difference. Laceless technology. Now this is mainly Adidas at this point in time. They introduced the A16 Plus Pure Control, that turned into the 17 Plus, and we now have the Nemesis 17 Plus, both the regular as well as the messy variation. So there are technically 3 laceless boots on offer from the Adidas brand as of right now. I think it's only a matter of time until we see more laceless boots from Adidas and possibly laceless boots from another brand. Probably not Nike, because I think they would be worried about being tagged as copiers, but the fact that laceless shoes have become so popular is interesting because, again, it goes to show the power of marketing. Now, I'll admit this, if I was the average consumer and I wasn't in a position where I actually got to try out all of these shoes, I would personally be very, very curious about a laceless boot, be it the Nemesis, be it the Pure Control, whatever it might be. I would want to try it out. But having been somebody that's tried out every single laceless boot on offer from Adidas and every other top-end model out there, because keep in mind, this shoe is $320, the Pure Control is $300, they're top-end price points. You can buy any other shoe for that amount of money. The actual performance characteristics and the way that these shoes fit is not as good as other shoes in the same price range, even from Adidas's own brand, that simply have a lacing system. The flaw with a laceless shoe, and I understand the logic that you're eliminating the laces, therefore most people would think, hey, you're eliminating bulk. You have a cleaner striking surface, a cleaner touch surface, which to a certain extent, that is somewhat true. In the case of the Nemesis, yes, you technically do have less material here. In the case of the Pure Control, because of the internal structure system, you actually have more bulk than a shoe with the same design in the A17.1 Prime Knit that simply just has a lacing system. That's besides the point though. The fact that you don't have laces means that you miss out on two different things. One being adjustability, which is a huge thing when it comes to soccer cleats. I would argue more important than any technology, more important than any material, is the way that the shoes fit. It's super, super important to have the proper fit in your soccer cleats. And when you have a laceless system, when you put this shoe on, that's it. You can't make them tighter, you can't make them looser, there is no adjustability whatsoever. So you're really betting on the fact that this shoe is going to match your foot perfectly, which unfortunately for most people out there, that is not necessarily going to be the case. You're not going to get as good a fit out of this shoe as you will get out of, let's say, the Nemesis 17.1, which is essentially the same boot with a lacing system. Losing out on that adjustability is a much bigger deal than I think a lot of people realize. The second big thing about laceless shoes that I personally am not a fan of is the fact that because it's laceless, there has to be stretch through the middle. This laceless element has to have some give to it so you can get your foot in and get your foot out. With that in mind, when you actually have the shoes on and you're making more intense movements, a sprint, a quick change of direction, planting for a strike, that means that this little bit of stretch that you can do with just a couple of fingers, imagine the entire weight of your body and all the force pushing to one side. This laceless system is actually going to stretch. It's going to lose even more lockdown and more structure because of the fact that it's laceless, which means you're gonna lose responsiveness, you're gonna lose stability, your foot's gonna slide around on the inside of the shoe. Not only is that uncomfortable, but from a performance standpoint, that simply means you're not getting the top possible performance out of that particular shoe. If you had a lacing system to adjust it and lock everything in place, that is the best possible scenario. Is there potential for laceless technology? Absolutely, I think there is. I think it's an idea that because it's done well for Adidas at this particular point, they should stick with it and try to evolve it as much as they can. But in terms of what's on offer right now, especially given the fact that Adidas themselves is offering the same shoes that you can buy in a laceless variation with laces, tells you right away that even they know that this isn't for everybody. This isn't necessarily the best option, and if you're talking about pure performance, going laceless is not the right way to go right now. Midcut soccer cleats. Call them midcuts, call them boots with a collar, call them sock boots, call them whatever you want to call them. I've heard lots of different terms on the internet. Midcut soccer cleats undeniably have become a very popular thing in 2017, especially amongst the younger generation. The reason why they make this particular list is not because I don't recommend midcut shoes. There are plenty of great ones out there, including the Superfly 5 I'm holding in my hands as an example. So I'm not saying you shouldn't buy midcut shoes. The reason why it does make this list though is because there isn't actually a performance benefit to these midcut designs. That's why it is technically useless to a certain extent, and I will explain why right now. The reason why people think this is much better than a standard low-cut shoe is because there's a lot of misconception. There's a lot of stuff that people just automatically assumed that isn't actually true, and I think it has a lot to do with basketball shoes. If you look at basketball shoes, you have low cuts, you have mid cuts, you even have high cuts, and obviously why would you buy a low over a mid, it's obviously because you want more ankle mobility. A mid-cut or a high-cut basketball shoe, when you tie the laces tight, not only is there gonna be more structure, more material around your ankle, there's also gonna be a lacing system that allows you to tighten that structure around your ankle, in turn leading to more ankle stability, more ankle support. In the case of any mid-cut soccer cleat, whether it be from Nike, Adidas, Puma, whoever it might be, notice that the collars are fully independent. The lacing system spans across the top of your foot and never around your ankle, because this is not meant to provide any kind of structure. Essentially, all you're getting from any of these mid-cut shoes is extension material that's not actually touching your ankles at all, or extension material that essentially has the structure of wearing a second pair of socks. So if you think wearing 2 pairs of socks offers more ankle support than 1 pair of socks, then hey, maybe this is doing something for you. But again, perception and reality are 2 very different things. All this collar is supposed to do is 1, look cool. That's part of the reason why they introduced it, to do something different. And 2, change the way that the shoe feels on your feet to a certain extent. It has that concept of flowing from your leg onto your foot, and of course it does change up the fit in the heel. I would argue negatively for most people, especially when it comes to the break-in process. More people have gotten blisters from mid-cut shoes over the last 3 years than they have from low-cut shoes. I can almost 100% guarantee that one. So again, the fact that people think that this provides some kind of ankle support, rigidity, structure, whatever you want to call it, that could not be further from the truth. We're even seeing from Nike themselves right now that they don't think that there is a performance benefit to a mid-cut shoe. They offer the Nike Hypervenom Phantom 3 in a low-cut and a mid-cut variation right now. You have to pay more for the mid-cut version, but if they really did believe that mid-cut was the best, they wouldn't necessarily offer a low-cut. Am I right? That's kind of my argument there. Also, the fact that you could technically just cut this collar off and still wear the shoes, it wouldn't impact the fit in any way at all, is something worth noting as well in regards to actual ankle support. This is just an extension piece on what would otherwise be, or what could otherwise be, a standard low-cut shoe. The only real benefit to any of these mid-cut shoes, mainly the ones from Nike, is that if the collar does wrap your ankle particularly tight, where there is no gaps at the top of the collar, if you do regularly play on artificial grass, it will help to keep those rubber pellets from getting inside of your shoes. But again, that depends on how they fit you specifically. If you have skinnier ankles, either in terms of size or in width, this collar won't necessarily wrap your ankle all that closely. There will be gaps, and those little rubber pellets will still be able to get in. But again, the way this collar wraps your ankle has absolutely nothing to do with the fit. Nike Grip insoles, specifically the liner on the insoles, because that is the Nike Grip aspect. What is Nike Grip technology, you ask? Well, we first saw it introduced in the form of Nike Grip socks, which was basically a True Socks competitor. True Socks, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with. The idea behind the Nike Grip socks is that they feel like regular socks, which I definitely would argue that is the case. If you guys want to see my review on Nike Grip socks, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, because I legitimately do think that it is a good product. The idea behind it is that the yarns used on the base of the socks actually have somewhat of a grippiness to them. So you get that little bit of added grip, the elimination of slippage between your foot and the sock and the inside of the shoe, without taking away from the comfort of a standard pair of socks. That's kind of what makes them different from True Socks, but they're definitely not as effective as True Socks in terms of the amount of grip that they actually provide. We're now seeing Nike Grip branding and Nike Grip technology in the form of the liners on all their top end models with the removable insoles. So kind of like ACC, they're trying to standardize this across all their top end boots, something you can only get when you buy the most expensive models on offer. So is it actually doing anything? In all honesty, and this is again 100% the truth based on my experience here, this just feels like a standard mesh. To the touch against your socks when you're wearing the shoes, you cannot tell the difference between this insole and the previous insoles that didn't have the Nike Grip lining. So again, it's not really detrimental to the performance, but it's one of those things that I'm sure at some point in time, Nike is gonna start making a bigger deal out of when it comes to marketing their products, that these do have Nike Grip liners. But if you're expecting something that feels like True Socks in the form of a stock insole in your top end Nike boots, unfortunately, that is not the case. And finally, zippers. Now in 2017, where the trend seems to be shoes being thinner, lighter, more streamlined in general, Under Armour somehow thought that it would be a great idea to put a zipper on their new Spotlight 2.0. Now, if you guys want to see my full review on this particular shoe, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen because I really go in on what the zipper is all about and what I really do think about it. But the reason why I put it on this shoe as a useless technology, because it is just that, something that is completely useless and to a certain extent completely unnecessary. All the zipper is doing on this particular shoe is just sealing up the lace cover. It is giving you access to the laces underneath, but honestly, they just could have done a solid lace cover that sits over top of this, slightly more loose, and you would still be able to tie the lacing system very effectively, kind of like what you can do right now on the Adidas X17 Plus Pure Speed. This is kind of the same concept with the outer shell and then the inner structure where the lacing system is held. But because you have a zipper, not only is this something that could break down the line, it just adds a lot of extra bulk to the shoe, and then you're always left with this little zipper piece that is a big chunk on the top of your foot that when you make contact with the ball just right, you definitely do feel it. You definitely can tell that it's there. Plus it kind of looks awful. So I don't think too many people have bought into the whole zipper concept from Under Armour, but in this video, I'm saying it's useless. You shouldn't necessarily want this. If you think this is cool, I don't really know what to tell you, but hopefully this is not a trend that continues. Anyways, that is it for what I consider to be the top 5 most useless technologies in soccer cleats today. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are there any other technologies you would add to this list? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as any questions that you may or may not have. If you guys did enjoy this video and want to see more top 5 videos on the channel, be sure to support the video with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.